Say, right, so first and foremost, when I give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Kakodash. We say, Double Sapos and Elohim Agreements and Rural teachers of person and shoot. And we say salutations, so the Akamas push within our truth and sincerity, day in and day out, and constantly in season or out of season. We say, Shalom. Before I go into the context of the video, I like to open with the scripture. Let me go to the book of Ephesians, right? The book of Ephesians, chapter 6, verse 4. Right, it says, and ye fathers, provoke not your children to wrath, but bring them up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. Right, so when you look at the word admonition, let me just get here quick in my sword. Right, it's a admonition, it's a exhortation. Right, it's a calling attention to. That is, by implication, it's a mild rebuke or warning. Mild rebuke or warning. So that is what the scripture is saying. It's saying to the word, it's saying, and ye fathers, provoke not your children to wrath, but bring them up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. And that is how you're supposed to be as a man. You're supposed to be having your children growing. They're supposed to be growing in the admonition of the Lord. Right? You're supposed to be training a child in the way that the child should go, right, in a proper way, and that is following who? Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. Right, following the Lord. Right now, as I said, going into this video here, this was a post that showed up on my feed, right? And I said, you know what, I would save it and do a video on it, because it goes to show, even reading over the post and going into it, it goes to show how off these women are. But it goes to show that these children, they don't have proper training. They don't have proper, or we just say in the Caribbean here, brought up see, right? They are not being brought up in a proper way. So she stated, so my friend is mad at me because I don't want to bring my kids to Pride. Am I wrong? So she then posted the conversation between her and a friend. They say, hey, do you want to go to Long Beach Pride with me this Sunday? Yeah, sure. I just got to get a sitter. Girl, what do you mean? We can bring the kids. I'm not bringing my son to that. He's too aware. Question mark. If my son grows up and happens to be, you know what, I'm fine with that, but I'm not about to force it down his throat with, you know what, men and drag queens, right? But she agreed to go to the event, which is something that you're not supposed to be taking part in, right? What you feel going to happen if a child continue to see her? Your child is going to get older, and he's going to see her, or she, or your kids, right, are going to see her go in these events, and they themselves would be, they would want to do the same thing as well, right? So that's why it's such an important thing, as I say, but bring them up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord, right? Let's do a quick Google search here. So when you look up admonition in the Google, it say a firm warning or reprimand, right? A firm warning. It's a cautionary reminder, right? Say what is admonition? The Greek word usually translated admonish, right? It says no otio or tetio, right? It say, which means literally to place on one's mind, right? This is also translated counsel, warn, and instruct, right? And that is the way it's supposed to be growing up a children, to instruct them in the ways of the Lord. But when you have these type of women that what she did, she was right, not to carry your children in these events, but you yourself are attending an event, so you off, and that is why it's such an important thing to know the woman that you are having kids with, right? Because you could end up having kids with these type of women. She going into them, but she do what she kids go. Obviously, you're attending something off, you're attending something wrong. Eventually, your children are going to get older, and as she said, I'm not bringing my son to that. He's too aware. So what make you feel you go in the events, your child wants the pictures, whatever maybe, what make you think he's not going to see it, and be like, let me go and see what it's about. So that it even goes to show that you yourself, as a parent, you're supposed to be well instructed, and well instructed how? In the Lord, right? So let me go to our next scripture here. Let me go to Proverbs. Proverbs chapter 22, right, verse 6. It says, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. So that is how it's supposed to be. So to train up a child in the proper way, and that righteous way is in who? The Lord, right? Following these laws, these statutes, commandments, and these things that are written therein, right? But if you have them outside here, they could just be like this. They will be following what? You see, just like majority of these kids, these kids, they rule their parents, right? Especially Aesop has certain laws, where the parents can correct the children in a certain way. They could be jailed, the kids could be taken away from them, right? So basically, it's the government who is seeing about the kids, who is nurturing up the kids, who is training them, and training them in what? In the wrong way. So the scripture said, train up a child in the way he should go, right? So it doesn't matter if your friend vex. If you do want to carry a child in those things, that is your child, and you training up your child in the proper way. But you yourself supposed to be doing the right thing, and she is not. There's the majority of this woman outside here. They think they're righteous, they think they're doing the right thing, but they are not, right? And there's an example. You know where your son going, but you going it. You're not leading. You're not leading by. You're not being a proper leader. And we know these women, they do all that leadership in them. It's a man, right? It's a man. So that's why I start with the Ephesians. I would say the fathers, right? That way I say fathers, do not provoke your children to wrath. It's so right, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. Now, let's go to another scripture. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 6, and I'll start from verse 5. It says, and thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thine heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy might. And these words which I command thee this day shall be in thine heart. It says, verse 7. It says, and thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children, and thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children. And that is how you're supposed to teach the children in the proper way, right? In the words of the Lord, right? So it says, and shalt talk to them when thou sittest in thine house, and when thou walkest by the way, and when thou liest down, and when thou risest up, right? Right? So it says, and thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children, right? And thou shalt talk of them when thou sittest in thine house, and when thou walkest by the way, and when thou liest down, and when thou risest up, right? So, but these parents, these fathers, these mothers, they are not teaching the children, these things. Plenty of these. Hey, first and foremost, these parents, they're not teaching it. They don't believe in the Lord. They don't even know the Bible. If you go in some of these people's houses, they don't even have a Bible in the house. So one time, they're not going and teach the children the ways of the Lord, because they themselves don't believe in it. But even when it comes to like certain stuff, like just being someone good, they don't even teach the children that. They give the children a tablet, a computer, a game, and tell them, what, this is go ahead, play with that, and they go on doing some sort of stupidness, right? They go on start doing something evil just like this. She going, but she leaving her son. She leaving her son. She don't want to carry her son. No, again, she's right for not carrying her son, but she going something that's wrong. So that's why it says, and thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children. So how are you going to teach that diligent? How are you going to teach the proper way, the ways of the Lord unto your children when you're doing these things, right? And shall talk of them when thou sittest in thine house, and when thou walkest by the way, and when thou liest down, and when thou risest up. So yeah, when they talk about it, eventually it goes stick in the head. You're not supposed to be doing these things, but these again, when I watch these when I watch the parenting of these parents, it's totally off, totally wrong. It had a stats, right? Statistic I read it was a little while ago of how terrible parenting has become, right? And there's a reason why, especially in the Israelite household, in these jakes, these so-called Negroes, Latinos, and natives, especially in Ole, when you watch all the bringing up, your children, it's totally wrong. You see the mothers had the daughters dressing up like harlots, right? The mothers, same thing with the sons. They want to come out to be bad man, gunmen, you know. They see the kind of, and to them, that is what they consider to be righteousness. They would talk about those things every day and night. They wake up, they want to talk about, go get that money, rob, steal. That is, showing them it on the TV. That is what they go talk about. But to teach them the ways of the Lord, right? They don't want to do that. So how are you going and grow up a child in the right way? That this is the proper way that it's supposed to be. This is, the ways of the Lord is the proper way. It's the righteous way, right? Those are the things you're supposed to be following on a daily basis, right? It keeps you in when you follow the Lord statutes and commandments of the Lord, and you read, so the Lord tell you, a man shouldn't go on to a man, even when you watch it like nature wise or scientifically, it's something off, right? And they teach that to your children, they would know right from wrong. They would know, hey, now this totally off. But to these parents, just like her here, you know, um, they fear to speak about those things. They don't even want to tell the children, hey, this. They don't want to tell the children that wrong. Then, right? You as a parent, that is a child. You're supposed to teach a child in the way it should go. But the children rule over them, right? So she said, okay, so maybe I would have did wrong. I'm not, the age would. I grew up going to Hollywood Halloween parade as a kid, and I distinctly remember, the D and boys, and I just don't want him to copy what he sees kids are impressionable, and we have in our family. So you could see the kind of household that child is growing in, and that is to show you the state and mindset of Jakes today, and what's going on in the families, right, in the family household, right. So this person, if you think seeing G men will force him to end up, do you think you're right? No, forcing them to be straight, but just and again, posting these things on the internet, this is, you'll get this, you'll get people who come and tell you the way you're gonna be child wrong. So this person might cut them off. They rather push personal preferences over natural good too many, and that is to cut off that evil from before you, you know, cut it off one time, but they're not going to do that. That was saying parenting is so off, right? The next script I was looking for. Go to the book Proverbs 13, verse 24. Right? It says, he that spared his rod hated his son, but he that loveth him chasteneth him betimes. And all these, and the reason why I bring up this is because, right? Um, the reason I bring up this is because they do, as I mentioned in the earlys, that they don't do this no more, right? You do in this society. If you go to if you go to um do do your child this, you'll be locked up, right? But it's basically correcting a child, right? But they will lock you up for that. So you say, he that spared his rod hated his son, but he that loveth him chasteneth him betimes, right? So if you love a child, you correct a child. And you're chastening them sometimes, right? But again, we're in this place where it's easier to make a child do something wicked and evil, like these things, than to teach them in the ways of the Lord. You know? And we don't know our enemy. Set it like that. Right? Set it like that. But it's such an important thing. Let me read some of these this was some good parenting. You're a great mom. And again, she's not a great mom because she herself wouldn't be attending those acts. She wouldn't be doing those things. But the scripture say, follow not an unruly multitude to do evil. That's roughly paraphrasing. So you wouldn't be attending these things if he's a good person. Right? But they so want to be inclusive. Right? With the world is that they accept these bullshit. Right? Right? So yeah, so train up your child in a way that it should go. And not the way the internet or your enemy want them to go. Right? So hey, with that, once again, I give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yoshai, Ba'ashem Bakakodash. We say the man, supporting Elos, agreements, and rule teaches our personal truth, and we say salutation, so they are coming to put you on truth and sincerity, nay and day out, and constantly in season of season, say, Shalom.